you got yourself a new camera. Congratulations. And now you wondering, how do you make those amazing images that you see on the internet, isn't it? Well, you're no different, because I thought the same when I got myself the first camera. And I can tell you that you're in the right place, because I'm going to teach you how to shoot in manual and make those amazing images. So stick around. So cameras today exist in different shapes and sizes. You have got the tiny cameras which are very small, like the GoPros. You've got DSLRs which are going to be obsolete, which are very big cameras, and then now you have the mirrorless cameras in today's age, which are relatively smaller but much advanced in the technology. So you cannot go wrong with any of those, but all of them serve a specific purpose. So today I'm going to give you an idea about how you can shoot the camera in a complete manual mode rather than going to auto, which most people do when they buy the camera. Let me tell you something about exposure triangle. Now, in order to make an image, you basically have to think about the exposure. If you have a correct exposure, then you get a beautiful image. If the exposure is far too bright, then you get an overexposed image, which is not something that you would want to click. In the same time, when you click an underexposed image, meaning there's less light, again, the image is not something which is very pleasing to the eye. So you always want to click an image which is rightly exposed. So in order to do this, we need to understand what exposure triangle is. An exposure triangle consists of three parameters: the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture. Hey guys, you must be wondering about what happened to my hair, the t-shirt. Well, I did not do any wardrobe changes for this video. The first part of the video that you saw was few days back, and then I could not continue shooting the video for various reasons. Then I thought to complete the video, and hence I'm shooting this video today. So that's the reason that you're seeing all these changes. I hope you like my haircut. It's very different from what I was before, but then I thought I really needed the haircut. Alright, without wasting any more time, let's get started. First thing that I want to talk about is the aperture. Basically, aperture in the most simplest form, if I want to tell you, is basically a hole in the lens of your camera. Now that hole can be expanded or can be contracted to let in less or more light. So for example, if you see the lens of your camera, you would find the markings like 1.8, 2.8. So that is called the f number. So an aperture is measured by f number, which starts all the way from 0.95 and goes all the way to f32. Now the bigger the number, which is f32 if I say, the smaller the hole. That lets in very less amount of light, while the bigger the hole, the smaller the f number. So if I say f1.8, the hole in the lens of the camera is really big, which lets in a lot of light. Now if you see, I'm holding a lens in front of me, which is a 50mm 1.8. Now you see a tiny hole in the center of the lens. Now that hole is nothing but the aperture. Now you must understand that that hole can be made bigger or smaller with the help of aperture blades, and those aperture blades can be moved with the aperture lever you can see right now. So you see that, how I am contracting or expanding the hole. Now that's how the aperture lever functions. I am just moving the aperture lever, and that in turn is either expanding the hole or contracting the hole. All right, now let's say you see the hole is very small. So at this point, for my lens, the f number is f16, which is the smallest hole, which lets in very less amount of light. Now if I expand this hole all the way to the max, the hole has become really big and it is letting in a lot of light. Now that is called f1.8 aperture. Again, this is f16, this is f1.8. So aperture not only controls the amount of light that gets in and out of the camera, but it also controls the depth of field. So when I say depth of field, let me try to explain. You would have seen images where, let's say for a bird photography image or a portrait image, where you would see the subject in focus while the rest of the area around the subject would be out of focus. Now that is something which is taken care by the depth of field. Now when the aperture is at f1.8, it lets in a lot of light, but the depth of field is really shallow, meaning only a very less area would be in focus while the rest of the area would be out of focus. So this is generally used where we want to really isolate the subject from the background. That's when we use an f1.8 aperture. Now let's say for a landscape image, you just don't want a particular tree to be in focus, right? You want the entire landscape to be in focus. That's where you need a higher depth of field. You shoot landscapes in f22, f8 or more. So what I'm trying to say here is the bigger the f number, the more is the depth of field, meaning more amount of area would be in focus. Short summary, bigger the f number, let's say f22 for example, the amount of light getting inside the camera is a lot lesser while the depth of field is a lot more. The smaller the f number, let's say f1.8, the amount of light getting inside the camera is way too high while the depth of field is really shallow. Alright guys, let me demonstrate the depth of field which I explained earlier in the video. Now you can see I am at f3.5 and I have two subjects in front of me, Mr. Monk and the elephant in the background. Now you can see with the f number of f3.5, the depth of field is really shallow, and hence you can see the subject at the moment, which is Mr. Monk, is in focus, and when I click on the elephant, now elephant is in focus while Mr. Monk is not in focus. This is what we mean by shallow depth of field. So let me just go ahead and increase the f number to f16. As I have explained earlier, when we increase the f number to f18, the size of the hole becomes really small, which lets in lot less light, and hence you can see the image at the moment is really dark. But with the higher f number like f16 or f18, the depth of field gets really more, and hence everything in the frame gets in focus. And you can see both Mr. Monk, the elephant, and everything in the frame you can see is in focus. Alright guys, I hope you understood what aperture is. Now I wanted to include shutter speed and ISO as well in this particular video, but I think that'll get too long and confusing for whoever wants to learn the basics. So I would divide this exposure triangle into three parts. Now this is part one, which is aperture, and then I would make two other videos which would be shutter speed and ISO. So that'll help shorten the video and give you a good understanding about what exposure triangle is. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button and do share my videos. It'll help others as well, and it does help me because it is a lot of motivation for me in order to go ahead, make more videos like these. So do let me know your feedback in the comment section. I would be eagerly waiting for those. Thank you, and you have a good one.